Today I'm going to show you how to roll out a pasta dough without a pasta machine and without the big traditional rolling pin that we have in Bologna. So traditionally, here in this part of Italy, we use this very, very long rolling pin and we roll out the traditional egg pasta on a wooden board. And this is to create texture. Now, generally speaking, the types of the shapes of dough, and this requires a lot of skill, is either round or oval, so kind of a big oval. And this is done in order to create large amounts of pastry, large amounts of pasta. Now, a lot of people kind of have asked me, because I've shown a few tutorials on this in the past, especially on social media, on Instagram and Facebook as well, where they could actually buy one of these pins. Now, at the moment, like I said, we're all on lockdown in Italy, and this means that all the suppliers are closed. You can probably or maybe get something similar from a local supplier or get one made. But I know it's difficult, and so until all the suppliers are kind of up and running again, I fear that using this method with this big rolling pin is not really suitable. However, just to kind of give you a quick heads up on how this works. This is the beveled end, and that usually goes to hang. Okay, this end, which is kind of slightly pointed at the end, is used to perfect your dough. Now, in the absence of one of these pins, what I've decided to do, especially for people who don't have a pasta machine, is develop a method using this kind of regular rolling pin that you can find pretty much anywhere. Most supermarkets have them. I went to check on various sites, internet sites, Amazon sites in Australia, in Germany, in the UK, in the US, and this is the most popular pin that seems to come up. So I decided I was going to develop a method which was a simplified method of the one that we use using the large pin, in order to be able to make a pasta dough, a thin, long pasta dough that you can make any type of shape with, okay? Now, it took a bit of trial and error, I'm going to admit, and it could kind of seem simple, but what I decided to do was adopt the methodology and the logic that we use when we make the big sheets of dough with a large pin, and apply it to this pin, making it much, much simpler. So, first thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to take my dough. This has been resting now for quite a while. It's a couple of hours. And I'm going to take it off. I put it to rest on my plate. I'm going to put a bit of flour on my board itself. Now, usually with a big pin, we work in a sort of circular motion. In this particular instance, because we're working with this type of pin, we're going to work in a different way. Now, the whole point of pasta is texture. So that will go from the extruded pastas, the durum wheat pastas, all the really good quality ones are very, very textured. None of them are really smooth. When you work with a pasta machine, especially a metal one, what you're doing, you're taking away all that texture. And that leads to a kind of different mouthfeel. So when you take away the texture, your sauces don't stick to your pasta. So if you don't have a wooden board, you can use any type of surface that you would otherwise normally have. However, you do have the texture from the rolling pin, and that will help. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to flatten it down with my hand. And this is, like I said, the method that's been adopted with the other rolling pin. I'm going to put a bit more flour because it was actually sticking to my hand a little bit. And I'm going to flatten it down. So even if you have a pasta machine, you could actually try this method and see how it works for you. And see whether there's actually, whether you can actually feel a difference in the mouthfeel and the texture. I mean, here, especially in Emilia Romagna, Bologna, Modena, Piacenza, all the kind of Emilia Romagna towns, Parma, everybody's obsessed with making the pasta with a rolling pin, due to the kind of whole texture and bite issue. So I flattened it down, and what I'm going to do, I'm always going to make sure that my dough is not wider than this part of the pin itself, okay? So some of the pins that you can buy both at the supermarket and online, they might be slightly, have a slightly smaller diameter, they might be slightly longer, but the important thing is that you don't go past the actual bulk part of the pin. Okay, mine, I don't use it very often, so it's kind of falling apart, so you might kind of see me pushing the handles in. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to start working from half of the pin upwards. Now, you might have this type of pin, you can work with this type of pin as well, not a problem. As long as you kind of stick to the rules that I'm going to give you and the guidelines that I'm going to give you. What you don't want to do is work with one of the French pastry pins, the ones, so they're kind of all completely wood, but they're tapered at the end. The minute you kind of start tapering, your pasta is not going to be even, okay? So what we want to achieve is an even, thin dough. So I'm going to start by seeing half of my dough from on top, and I'm going to press up, and I'm going to leave a lip, okay? I'm going to do a quarter turn, and I'm going to press up, and I'm going to leave a lip. I'm going to do a quarter turn, and I'm going to press up and leave a lip. I'm going to do a quarter turn and press up and leave a lip, okay? And now that's the only time when I'm actually going to do 4 quarter turns. Do my last quarter turn. So this is actually nearly as wide as my actual pin itself. Now I'm going to work in 180 degrees, so half turns. So again, working from halfway up, always away from me, I'm going to roll upwards and press out a little bit here. So I'm going to work right just to the edge. I'm not going to go over the edge. Okay, I'm going to flip it upside down, bring it close to me, and again from halfway, bring it up. I'm going to use the kind of edges of my pin just to kind of even it out a little bit. And I'm going to flip it upside down. And again, from halfway. So 3 and 4 and 5. Now, if you've got back problems, just make sure that you work close to you so you're not putting unnecessary pressure on your back. Okay, I'm flipping it upside down. Because it's starting to get longer now, I'm actually going to bring it over the edge. That doesn't matter, because the elasticity helps it to actually stretch out. Okay, and I'm always kind of working from about halfway, from kind of the half volume of my dough. Okay, and I'm going to flip it over now. What you mustn't do is start from the actual fold where your dough hangs over, because otherwise you're just going to cut off your dough. Okay, and I'm going to roll out again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So the longer it gets, the more I'm going to stretch it out. Always kind of bringing out the dough to the edge. So it's starting to get too big to flip over on itself with my hands. So I'm going to roll it over my pin. I'm not pressing down. I'm going to put my fingers on the dough itself. I'm going to lift up and flip it over on itself, sorry. So 180 degree turn. Okay. And I'm going to roll out again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to bring it out a little bit so that it's even. So I'm going to go out northeast and northwest and northeast and northwest and northeast and northwest and north again. So unfortunately, it's not the traditional rolling pin. We can't get it as perfect as we can, but what you're going to end up with is something that's kind of pretty similar to what comes out of a pasta machine, only with the texture. So I'm rolling it over on itself. I'm putting my fingers down so it doesn't slide off, and I'm going to flip it over. Okay. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6. I'm going to go northeast, and northwest, and northeast, and northwest. So what that is doing is thinning out this part here, but I'm going to perfect those at the end. If you only have a small board, it doesn't matter, you just kind of work in sections. So for the most part, at least this stage, you can very easily work with a small board. Okay, I'm rolling it over my pin, putting my fingers, lifting up. I'm never pulling it because otherwise it's going to break. And I'm going to bring it down. And again, like I said, if it hangs over the edge of the board, it doesn't matter. It's not going to break off. It's elastic. We want kind of the elasticity because the gravity helps pull it down and helps stretch it out. So like I said, and as you can see, I'm literally just, rolling away from me. So this edge is kind of slightly thicker than this one, and I'm going to work on that at the end. Okay, and I'm just going to keep working outwards. So as you can see, my dough is just slightly narrower than the pin itself. And here my pin is kind of coming apart. I'm going to roll it over. Lift up, and flip it over. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to start pressing down a bit harder. Just kind of really bring it up. Like I said, always away from me. Because if you do it in both directions, you're going to end up with an uneven dough or sheet. Okay. So what you can see is actually something that's kind of pretty similar to comes out of a pasta machine, right? So I've got to see how thin that is. So you can actually start seeing my hands through that. Now what you can do, if you have a pasta machine, is do the first part of rolling on the wooden board and with a rolling pin. That way you get your texture. And then you could just put it like the last sort of slot through your machine. Oops. Heavy. Bring that up. Okay. There we go. Right, so that's kind of quite thin now. Don't know whether you can see my hand. And I'm going to roll that over, like that, roll it up. And I'm going to move my flour to the side. I just kind of kept that there just in case. And I'm going to roll it out. And so we've actually got a really nice long sheet of dough. I'm going to go and roll out now and perfect the edges. Because the edges are kind of a bit thicker now than the middle because we've been rolling out from the middle. Tore a little bit, I'm not quite sure why. Okay, so I don't quite like the look of that, that's nice and thin. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut my dough into squares. So before I do that though, I'd just like to say that this now is a format that you can use for any type of pasta. Okay, you can use it for tagliatelle, pappardelle, Farfalle, which are the butterfly or the bow tie shapes. You can make it for anything, actually, any kind of egg pasta shape.